Good morning, everybody. In today's video we are going to make some coconut macaroons, and then later on, after they're set and cooked really nice, we're going to dip them, temper some semi-sweet chocolate, and we're going to dip them in the chocolate. That's what we're doing in this video. Okay, so I got 2 bags of unsweetened coconut here. It's about 500 grams. I got a can of sweetened condensed milk. Just need to get a bowl. Put that on the side. I need to get 2 eggs, and I need to get the vanilla. Okay, and my mixer. I am organized, I swear. Okay, so we need to make 2 egg whites and beat them. So just gonna set up my mixer here. Okay, so I got a little container for the yolks. This is a super easy recipe. It's one of my son's favorites. Okay. So you just want 2 egg whites from 2 eggs. That's what we're doing to start with here. Okay. I'll use the yolks in something else. Okay, let me just rinse my hand and then we'll get to mixing these. Okay, so let's beat up the egg whites. I also preheated my oven to 350. These do need to be baked. Okay, so let's whip these up. I almost forgot. We need to add 1/4 teaspoon to this of salt. It helps stiffen the egg whites. Almost forgot. Okay, so this is what we want. We want it to look like that. See how it's stiff and it doesn't move? This is what we want. Okay, so now let's put the rest of this together. Okay, so we're going to empty both bags of coconut into the bowl here. I prefer using unsweetened coconut just because the condensed milk is so sweet. This recipe does call for sweetened coconut, but like I said, I prefer unsweetened. You don't want it to be too sweet. Mix that in. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of vanilla. This is what gives it the really nice flavor. A little bit more. Okay, now we're going to open the can of sweetened condensed milk. You can use light if you want. I know there's a lighter version of this. I'm going to pour the whole can in here. Okay, and then we want to mix this together. Mix it in with the coconut. This gives the center a really nice chewy texture in the middle of it. So you want to mix it until it's completely incorporated with the coconut. Might need a little bit more. I might have had a little too much, just a little too much coconut here. So 1 sec, I do have another can. Okay. So I'm just going to add a little bit more. Probably only about 1/4 of a can. You want the texture to be, here I'll show you the texture. Okay, so you want the texture to be, see how it's all, there's still quite a bit of dry stuff in there. You don't want it quite that dry. The inside of the macaroon will be quite dry if you don't add a little bit more. So add a little bit more. I am going to add a little bit more salt just to cut some of the sweetness. Okay, see if that's enough. See how it looks more like a paste almost? This is what we want. Gives the macaroon the chewy texture in the middle. Okay, I think this is perfect. We didn't need the whole can. So see the texture? That's what we want. Okay, so now we're going to take the egg whites and we're going to fold them into this. It gives it an airy feeling to the mixture. Let me add the rest here. And just keep doing it until it's fully incorporated. Okay, I think we're almost there. Okay, so this is what the texture should look like. Nice and almost like a paste. But you have everything incorporated. Okay, so now let's pull out a baking sheet and we can scoop these out onto it. Now I'm just going to scoop them out onto this tray here. I'm just going to use a scoop, just like I do with the cookies. And I'm going to put these fairly close together. They don't really expand. Just so I can try and get most of the mixture in the first batch here. I like to also to use a scoop because the center gets nice and chewy, which is how we prefer to eat these. If you want them a little bit more crunchy, I would just use a smaller scoop. I like to make these for my Christmas boxes sometimes. They go really, really well in my Christmas boxes. I've made them a few times for my Christmas boxes. If you haven't watched any of my other videos, I like to make Christmas baking boxes for my for our friends and for close acquaintances for Christmas. It allows me to make a bunch of different kinds of goodies and recipes, and love it. I like making people happy. Like I said before, I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. You can do it on 325. I would recommend 350. But it also depends on your oven, right? Like if your oven runs hot, do it on 325. Do that. Oh, that one fell apart a little bit. Let's just scoop that up again. I want them to look pretty for when we're putting chocolate on them later. You can perfectly eat these without chocolate if you prefer that. I just like dipping them in semi-sweet chocolate. It gives a different element to the macaroon. I find because the macaroons are a little bit sweet, a chocolate that is at least semi-sweet is best. Semi-sweet or even dark chocolate would be perfect. Okay, just going to rinse my hands here. We're going to bake these at 350 and I don't really have a set time on how long I bake these. I usually bake them till they're golden brown on the top. So you see the coconut slowly start turning a golden brown color. That's usually when I take them out. So once that is done and they come out of the oven, I'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven. Okay, so the macaroons have come out of the oven. This is what they should look like. Nice golden brown color on the tops and right around the edge here. These are perfect. So we're going to let these cool, and then we're going to start tempering some semi-sweet chocolate. Okay, so we're going to temper some chocolate. I am by no means an expert at this. I'm still learning myself, but I know the first thing is you need good chocolate. Do not use chocolate chips. It does not work very well. So we're going to cut up 2 bricks here of semi-sweet chocolate. And I'm going to melt it over a homemade double boiler, basically. I'll show you in a sec here. So I'm just giving them a rough chop. I could put them in just like this, but it takes longer to melt. So over the years of trying to master tempering chocolate, which I still have not completely mastered, I get it right sometimes and sometimes I don't. You need to use good chocolate. That was where I was going wrong for a few years before I realized. Do not use chocolate chips. Or like chocolate melts, don't use those. I would suggest like Ghirardelli chocolate or Baker's chocolate or something like that, like a good quality. It tempers a lot better. Okay. Hopefully I didn't cut up too much here. I think this should be just enough for all these macaroons here. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this over to the double boiler and we're going to melt it. Okay, so I just have a pot with some water, and then I take a metal bowl that can be put over hot water, and this is like a homemade double boiler. So now we're just going to wait for this to start melting. Hopefully it won't take too long since we chopped it. Turn it up a little bit. Okay, so the chocolate is starting to melt. The water is getting quite hot and allowing the chocolate to melt. I'm just going to put my oven glove on here so I don't burn myself. You want to melt this till it's just melted. You don't want to over melt it. It won't temper right. So just until these chunks are just melted. It does happen quite quickly, so don't walk away while you're doing this. Sometimes I'll take it off the heat a good couple seconds before they're completely melted, just so I don't go over the heat temperature. You don't want it to be too hot. Okay, so right about there I'm going to shut it off. As you can see, they're almost melted. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so I'm going to take it off the heat completely now. And now I'm going to somewhat show you how to temper this. Okay, so tempering chocolate is essentially cooling it down by constantly mixing, pretty much. So you want to keep mixing and slowly releasing the heat from the chocolate. This is how I've learned. I haven't perfected it yet. But I find when I use semi-sweet baking chocolate, I can usually get the temper pretty close. This will give it the sheen, like a nice shine on the chocolate, if it's done right. And it should have a small crack. Like when you break it, it should have a crack when you're doing it. But if you don't temper it right, it'll be more soft. So I won't guarantee we're going to get this perfect, but I'm going to attempt it here. So this process can take quite a while. I've seen it take me 10, 15, 20 minutes with different kinds of chocolate. Semi-sweet one, it usually works within 10 to 15, sometimes a little less. Just depends on how much you're mixing it. And literally, just keep stirring. Keep mixing. And this is all you do. And you're trying to bring the temperature of the chocolate down to a certain degree so that it gets that crack that you want. If there are anybody that has better tips than this to tempering chocolate, please write them in the comments. This is the one thing that I would love to master. I do my best, but I know it's not perfect yet. So once I get it to that stage, I will come back and I will do a test and show you. Okay, so I did a little test. It's nice and shiny, but it's not setting. So it's been 15 minutes, so I'm going to do it for a couple more minutes and see if I can get it to set properly. Okay, so I've been doing this for close to half an hour. So I think I might have it fairly close. So we're going to dip the macaroons in this. I'm hoping I've tempered it. Like I said, I'm really bad at this part, so we're going to dip them in and see what happens. So for these, I like to dip them right on the bottom, like that. We'll just let them sit and set right on the pan here. You can put the chocolate however far up the macaroon you like. Sometimes I'll dip half the macaroon as well. Just dip half of it and instead of right on the bottom. Just like that. And then we're going to let the chocolate set, and I'll give you a look afterwards, see if we tempered it right or not. Tempered the chocolate. As I was saying before, if any of you have any tips for tempering chocolate, I am all ears. It is my downfall. Let's see. There's lots on this side too. There we go. It was a little, just enough. There we go. So once these are done setting, I will come back and show you the finished product. Okay, so here's the finished product. They didn't quite temper right, but almost. Almost. You see how it's not quite shiny? I almost had it tempered right, but it's close. It's close. So this is the final product. They look delicious. I hope you make the recipe. So guys, we finished making the chocolate macaroons. Didn't quite get the tempering just right. It's a struggle I have. I'm working on it. If you guys have any tips, please tell me. I almost had it this time. So I hope you guys make the recipe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.